Somebody join in. I can't see anything now. What happened? Maybe Curtis is there. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a black screen.
I'm here.
We're protesting.
Dude, you have to shut up when the intro's playing and stuff.
No, yeah, I can't do it.
You can't.
There was nothing playing when I was talking. It was just a black screen. I thought you were protesting with the rioters.
We were having some trouble. This is stuff that like I said, that we're kind of learning about and all this and that. But we're here. It looks like we're streaming live, so I think we're good, right?
Maybe. No joke, folks. The moment we tried it, the first thing this week that we got was, this goes against community standards. We're like, really? Already?
Yeah, it's like we've got one show in the can and already we're going against community standards. Folks, what we're going to do, we've got a thing scrolling right down here that says subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we want you to do that because we are going to start broadcasting on YouTube here pretty soon. And that's where you're going to be able to catch the show. And we want you to make sure you don't miss it. So go and give us a subscribe, I guess you would say, Brad.
Well, and if you've got like a Fire Stick or whatever hooked up to your TV, some sort of stick, you can watch YouTube on there. And then now you'll be able to catch us you can watch us in your living room on the TV. Oh, you don't have to look at your phone.
Dude, speaking of TVs, they came and installed a big 65-inch TV in my studio today.
And now the light's going to be flickering all over your face like mine was doing because it's in my face.
Well, what's cool is I never could, when I was in the studio, I never could watch like UFC live right now because it's live right now and I'm watching it as we do the show. So that's cool.
So if he loses a train of thought, folks, it's because he's not paying attention to this. He's watching TV.
Absolutely. So, all right, man. So a lot of stuff is going on. I got railed on Facebook, Brad, because I put a post, I shared a video and it showed some black guys that had a white lady that bowed down before him and was kissing all their feet, and they bring the next guy in and she like kisses their feet. And then, and they're like, this is the new America. This is what it's, blah, 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 blah. They going through this whole big old thing. I posted that video, right? I put that video out and, of course it made a lot of people mad, but then I got called out on it, Brad, because they said, I was told that video wasn't from Seattle right now, like the other day that Larry Elder, I think. Yeah. So he posted it originally, I think. And so, it wasn't from the other day. So they were angry saying that I was spewing far left hatred against blacks because I put that video up.
Well, I took it as you're just saying that this is happening again because this isn't the first time. And it happened just the other day where the white guilt people washed the feet of pastors and other protesters, of course, of black protesters and black pastors. They washed their feet as penance. I have never heard of that penance before, though. Curtis, have you ever washed someone's feet as penance?
I would never watch, dude. If they were in an old folks home and they were like, dude, the only way that their feet are ever going to be cleaned is if you wash them. They would never happen. I'm just, I can't.
Sorry, Mom.
I'd have to hire somebody to come in and do that. There's no way I'm doing that. But so anyway, my whole point was I was making the argument. I'm like, I'm watching the protests. I'm watching this city of Chaz. They for those of you that don't know, if you've living under a rock, Seattle has a new country right in the middle of it, like a 5-block country named Chaz, right? So if you're living under a rock and you haven't seen any of that stuff, they're crushing monuments. They're pulling down statues. They're all about erasing the history of the United States and all of this and that. And they were mad because I posted this video from 2019 and I said, well, what is the difference? If you've got some far right folks or you've got some far left folks, they're acting like idiots either side. What's the difference? If it happened last year, you guys are saying that something that happened, 50 years ago is bad. We need to take
200 years.
200 years. Yeah. Last year though, mad because it was put up, and I don't understand that. I get that it makes the whole thing look bad, but that's my whole point. Things that are happening years ago shouldn't be, laid on our doorstep, Brad. I don't think, because it's not right.
Well, and that wasn't years and years ago. That was last year, and then it's happening again right now. But the other thing is that Democrats were literally arresting Americans for opening their businesses, but now they're silent as protesters burn them down. And then you were fined for worshiping in your church, but now they're cheering for people marching in screaming crowds. The hypocrisy is what gets me. Is I'm like, you're such hypocrites.
Well, yeah, and and the little notices on TV that are like, please social distance. I was at a graduation, a JMA graduation here just a couple of days ago, right? And the protests are going on. It's craziness. You go to the grocery store, there's hundreds of people out, this and that. Yet at this particular graduation, the state police called and wanted to give them crap about it. There's 11 graduates, right? 11 graduates and their parents. They were only allowed to have 2 of their parents, like their kids, the friends and all that couldn't come. It was social. Everybody had to wear a mask, and the governor still had the state police call. It's amazing to me, but the protests are okay, and the bars, you still, oh my God, I can go on and on about this.
But you can't do graduations. People have not been able to go to the funerals of their own family, and then a career criminal had at least three funerals with hundreds of thousands of people involved in these funerals, and that's okay. That's okay, but you can't go to your family funeral. You can't go to the graduation. You can protest, and you can go to George Floyd's funeral. So the hypocrisy is just, it's gotten ridiculous. But the other one is, I think it's funny that now they're saying you gotta get rid of the police. Basically, we're going to do it with our own neighborhood watches and psychologists. And I'm like, wasn't Trayvon Martin killed by a neighborhood watch fellow?
Yeah, absolutely. And the city of Chaz, right? Or this new nation of Chaz that we're going to be talking.
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone is what they call it.
Yeah. I'm going to call it Chaz because it's just easier, right?
Yes.
So the first thing they did, right? The first thing they do in their new country is they erect borders, Brad. They
put up a wall.
They go and they shut down the police station, and they pull some borders out, and they lock it down, and then they guard it with armed guards, right? So there they are, armed guards protecting the border of Chaz, right? And so
some people might call those armed guards police.
Some might.
That's what the word would mean.
I look at this, and it's all about hypocrisy. It really is. And I totally get, man, you've heard it said 100 times. Nobody agrees with what happened to George Floyd. Nobody does. I haven't met one person that does. Anybody.
Well, there were 4 people that agreed.
And it doesn't matter, what have you done? That was terrible. What have you done?
They all got arrested, though.
Anything like that, the guy didn't deserve what he got. End of discussion. What's going on now is breeding a whole new level of hate in our country. I watched Samuel L. Jackson speak, and he was talking about, let's just not talk about race. Let's stop seeing race. Let's go. Or it's Morgan Freeman. I'm sorry.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for
Morgan
you to
Freeman.
do the funny one.
Morgan Freeman.
He was comical.
He was like, let's not do that. What's happening now with all of this stuff is making, as much as you look at some redneck gunslinging white supremacist over here, and you want to group everybody, all the white race like that's not true. What's happening right now in Chaz and all around, and this feet thing and the guns and all of that, people are looking at that, and I'm telling you, it's not helping the cause. I really don't think it's helping the cause for anybody.
But what is the cause, though?
What is the cause? They can't even tell. I watched them tear a statue down today, and a reporter went up and said, "So why are you tearing this statue down? What do you not like about this statue?" And the guy looked at her and was like, "I don't even know who it is."
Right.
And he literally said that on TV. I don't even know who it is.
One of the statues was one of the founding fathers that was an abolitionist, abolishing slavery abolitionist. They tore his statue down. That makes good sense.
Yeah, I see, I have, we have a lot of friends in the industry, right? Of all races. And I feel a lot of them, I know a lot of them are very aggravated, very frustrated, just like we are. And I just don't feel like anything at this point is getting better. And I don't see what's trying to be accomplished at this point, because now it just seems like anarchy, and I think all races can see that now, like they know what's going on.
But I still just can't get a legitimate answer where people are like, well, we got to stop racism. I'm like, what law could we enact to stop racism, Curtis? Is there a law we could enact? Well, we did. It's the Civil Rights Act. We said that you can't do things in your businesses. You can't do things in public. You can't discriminate based on race, among other things that we added in there. And I'm like, what are you going to do? Are you going to go further? Is there some way the government can say, you can't dislike people, you can't hate people? You can't do that. You can teach people, but you can't force them. And this is Brad's quote. If it's a good idea, you can teach it. If it's a bad idea, you have to force it. And that's what they're wanting to enforce bad ideas. I'm like, just teach it. People will learn from it. But the Morgan Freeman thing about just quit talking about it. That's what I want. And that's why I always mention the South Park Chef Goes Nanners one. And that's where the kids are so not racist. They don't see race in the situation. And Chef is like, oh, wait a minute. I'm racist. I'm the one that sees it. You children don't even see it. You just see it as people being bad to a person, not white people being bad to a black person. And I love that. And so if you have a chance, watch Chef Goes Nanners on South Park.
I think, it's really at this point, everybody is so touchy. Everybody gets so angry about it now. And you are absolutely right. And we get a lot of messages, a lot of mail and stuff. And especially with some of the nonsense I've written on Facebook and whatnot, but there's nothing that anybody is going to do to eliminate racism on either side. And any dude, if you've got some white folks that are just going to be racist. You've got some black folks that are just going to be racist. They just are.
Well, and ironically, Michelle Obama is the one that said that once all these white folks die, no joke, then that'll help with racism. And I get that, because we're still in a generation. There are still people alive that predate the Civil Rights Act. Okay. But the Morgan Freeman thing about still talking about it, if we could stop acting like it's such a prevalent thing, it'll go away. If we all just forget race and just say that we're all just people, we can actually move on from it. But these people that keep making a living from it, like Black Lives Matter and Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, they're just race baiting. And to me, I'll say it straight up. Black Lives Matter is one of the most racist hate groups on the planet. They obviously just hate white people, and that's their thing. And that's why I'm not going to support them at all.
Well, let me tell you, you pulled up a good graphic about some of the money that was going into Black Lives Matter. And I know in theory it's supposed to be a great thing or whatever, but let's look. You've got this, right? Let me see if I can pull this up.
Yeah.
We're gonna throw this up in a solo maybe. So I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Brad, go through it for just a second.
So basically what this is if you donate money to Black Lives Matter then funnels that money through another PAC. And then that PAC, a political action committee, donates it to all these different people, Bernie, 2020, Biden for president. It's it's just like where we've talked about on the radio show about how finding out that the Ukraine, all that Biden stuff was just money laundering. Well, this is money laundering. So if you donate from a foreign source to Black Lives Matter, that's perfectly legal. It's also perfectly legal for Black Lives Matter to donate their money to this PAC, and then that PAC donates it to the Democrats. And so it's like a tax shelter. You're doing money laundering, and because you can't just have foreign sources donating directly to these Democrats. But if you do it this way, perfectly legal. And look at this, $186 million, $119 million, $93 million. That is just insane. That's insane numbers, Curtis.
It actually is. Yeah. So from what we're seeing here, the money is.
Oh, sorry. That's my autographed photo from Michael J. Fox. My apologies.
That's awful. That's awful. All right.
What is awful? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get rid of them. So you're terrible. Okay. So Devon Fite is watching right now, and I just sent him a link, Brad, to join us right here live. Devon, if you're still watching it, I sent you a private message. So go to that and click the link, and you're going to come right in with us.
And then at the same time, we have the wife of a police officer that's saying, I wish they could go on a ride along. I want the same thing, because one of the things that social media is showing is it's showing the violence in arrests. And that's not uncommon, folks. You know why? They're dealing with criminals. They can't risk their lives. They can't. And I saw this today. They can't lasso the person and tie him up. It doesn't work that way, folks. The other one is, like if they have to shoot somebody, where they're like, why did they have to shoot him 17 times? Well, because the 16th, they were still moving. You got to stop the person from trying to kill you in a lot of these situations. And we're not going to pull it up today, but I looked up an Excel spreadsheet on an anti-police site. They list every death related to the police. And I showed Curtis that all these ones that show unarmed, well, this one, he was unarmed. What happened? He aimed a air rifle at the police. Well, the police didn't know it was an air rifle, but that's considered unarmed. The other one that we pulled up, and we just scrolled through and we said, well, let's look at this one. The next one was the guy was the passenger in the car with his dad. His dad had just run a cop over. The cops were shooting at the guy driving the car, and the guy in the passenger seat, the son, died. That's considered unarmed. And it goes on and on. If you actually just look at the info, you'll find out that, well, there's actually good cause for the police to do it. And then the other one is, of course, suicide by cop, where a good percentage of the ones that are unarmed that die at the hands of police is because they intended to. They were killing themselves via police. They did it on purpose. They knew they would get shot, and they did it. So
okay, hang on, Brad. Here we go.
I get frustrated.
Let me see. Here comes. This is Devon. Devon, are you there? I'm seeing his floor. There he is. Hey, Devon, I got to tell you, for those people that don't know, right? Devon, he's a good dude, man. Me and him are friends. We've been, we met a while back, right? About a month or two ago, I guess. Can you even hear me? So can you hear us better now? Everything good?
I can hear you guys. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. We hear you great. Excellent. It's awesome. All right, man. So let's chat, man. Tell us what's on your mind, what you think about all this nonsense going on.
Well, it's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I just wanted to, most of the things that were said, I could probably address with more question than even having to give so much of a statement. So where do I start? So you did say, let's talk with, I don't even know where to start with you, my friend. Let's start with the people who have been, the police brutality, the people who have been unarmed, who have been killed. When you mentioned the guy who had the air rifle, are you talking about the guy who was at Walmart?
Oh, there's actually a large number of them. No, I've got a whole list. There's a lot of them where they've aimed air rifles, and of course, a lot of times people consider that suicide by cop because that is actually a common thing.
Right. That's fair. But if you go into Walmart and someone is looking at a gun that's on the shelf and they don't aim it and you still get killed, what is that?
If it is not procedural, then it's a crime, and that's why, like on this latest one with George Floyd, those guys have been arrested.
All right, the career criminal that you said.
And he was. Now that doesn't take away from the fact that
define for me a career criminal, and why does it matter?
Devin, because he's been arrested multiple times,
and I think if you're arrested multiple times in your book, you're a career criminal.
Well, hang on, Brad, because I said whatever had been done by George Floyd in the past, whatever crime he had made, was meaningless. It didn't have anything to do with this. I said
it doesn't have anything to do with the murder. What it has to do for me is that he had 3 funerals when other people can't hold funerals. They can't have funerals for their own family. To me, that's not right.
We can't have funerals right now in that state.
Over the past few months, people have not been able to be with their family.
I understand that, and that's horrible, and I disagree with that full-heartedly, I promise you. But for us to compare what's happening now for him to like something that was against the law before,
you still can't have 20,000 people at an event, but that's what they did.
You can't even have, you're still in the 25 people range, Devin. I mean, like if I died right now, not that 25 people would want to come to my funeral, but if I died right now,
maybe 2 to 5.
Yeah, 2 to 5 would be great. I might get that, but after that, man, it's like that's not going to happen, and they're sure not going to.
I'd be there. I promise you. You make friends. No, I hear you, and then also another thing on that, and that makes very good sense. It's not fair. And what should we do? Should we bring the state? So at this point, are we now feeling like okay, they should follow the law? Because I know a lot of times we support it. That we shouldn't. We need to go against it. We don't want the government tyranny. We don't want them to hold us down. But now that they've had these 3 funerals, it's an issue that they've done. Also, the 3 funerals I didn't pay for. No one else paid for. You didn't pay for it. So I don't know how that's even an issue.
I'm not worried about who paid for it. I'm just saying it's hypocritical that when people were protesting the lockdowns, they were threatening the lives of others. But then when they protest and go to this funeral, it's perfectly okay. Just wait till that's over, and then we can go back to being scared of the virus. No one said that. We've always talked about how dangerous it is to gather, and that if you notice, a lot of the people, well, not all of them, but a lot of people are wearing masks too. And I'm not saying that helps, but Curtis, you yourself said we should get together and have a thing together.
A concert. I still think that. Yeah, I totally think that.
Excuse me, everybody, my language.
But that's not the point. What I think that we should open up, against. I think we should just do it because I feel like this whole coronavirus thing is kind of a BS anyway. But that's not the point. That's not what the governor is telling us.
Right.
And we just had a graduation. I just said earlier. I don't know if you heard this, but I just spoke at a graduation a couple of days ago, and the state police, it was 11 graduates, right? 11 graduates. And the state police contacted them to tell them that they couldn't have that.
Because it's more than 10.
In New Mexico.
In New Mexico. Yeah. That was right here where I live. That's not right, man.
I understand it. That's not in New Mexico, state where he was buried are totally different states, right?
That's right.
The way their governors handle things and the way that Grissom has handled things are totally different. We all know Governor Grissom has handled this really, really strictly. A lot of people are opposed to the way that she handled it because she doubled down on us and then, ordered some jewelry. But either way, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's still funny to me where she's like, I really got to get me some earrings.
Girl, go ahead and have them pick it up. Don't go close to it. Don't do that. But we need to go and get that before somebody else snatches it online.
Okay, well,
but that's neither here nor there, y'all. And I think it's considered hypocritical, but I think it is really, it's disheartening when I go on and I see my friends and people that I know that I would probably get along with normally go to this George Floyd thing and then immediately, number one, refer to him as a criminal, as if that has anything to do with the story and what it has brought forth.
I totally said it had nothing. That was my point. I said people are doing that, and that's not right. That's not right.
And when I bring it up, it's because of the funerals and all of the craziness where he's being martyred as if he's done something fantastic. And Joe Biden just said that his death.
You're right.
Joe Biden just said that his death is more impactful than Martin Luther King Jr.
And he says that,
I'm like, you got to be crazy. I have utmost respect for MLK.
Listen, Brad, let's let him talk.
So his death, his life, not more impactful as Martin Luther King Jr. That is absolutely true. But his death has sparked the biggest civil rights movement in the world.
No, come on now.
Okay, wait. Hang on, Brad.
The world.
I got to ask you this, Devon, though. At what point is it a legitimate civil rights movement, and at what point is it knocking out windows and burning down shops? Because that's my point to this.
Go ahead.
This is my point. Like, I totally agree that, you know what, they should protest. What happened to George Floyd was wrong. It was totally wrong, and I hope these cops rot in prison. But at what point does the damaging these stores and putting their own community out of business and burning their own stores down, at what point does that hurt your action? You know what I mean? At some point, it makes the entire thing look bad, right? And that's what I'm saying, and that's what I want to hear from you.
And this is where the hypocrisy comes in as well, because we know that the majority of these protesters, and we've seen video footage of people who are not at all part of the Black Lives Movement, they even have a name for them. They're coming in and they're burning buildings and they're writing Black Lives Matters on things, and we're blaming the many for the few. I'm one who believes we shouldn't blame all white people for a few racist people. We shouldn't blame all black people for a few bad black people. We shouldn't blame all cops for a few bad cops. So in this protest, if we look at things, I see your finger. I'm gonna let you go.
Yep.
The people who are doing the damage, they're not the same part of the same kind of movement. So there are people who are just mad and looting of all colors and all races who don't even know George Floyd's name.
Right. Exactly. And that's my whole point. That's my whole point, because at what point do those people damage what the good protesters are trying to do? And at this point, you know, people are looking at this, watching it across the country and saying, you know, they're grouping everybody together in this whole Chaz nonsense. That's
what America does best. We group everyone together.
Let's be honest. That's true. That's exactly right. But what do you think about this Chaz thing? They're first thing they do, put a border up. They put armed guards out. They start demanding that the businesses pay.
But Curtis, hang on. Can I ask a quick question?
Sure. Go ahead.
Here's a simple question. How do we know what Derek Chauvin did was due to racism?
How do we know that it was because of racism?
Yes.
Okay, well, we can't say that definitively. There's no way.
Right.
Listen, we can't really say anything. We can only
maybe he's just an asshole.
We can just take context and we can take his back.
So all of this has happened because some guy is just an asshole?
No, because a police officer, someone who was paid to protect and serve.
Yeah, but that didn't happen for any other race.
No.
Let him talk.
You've been a Chinese man, my friend. I promise you, I'd be just as enraged every time I see it. It upsets me.
But you weren't.
I have been, and I am.
Show me the pictures on the street protesting.
You're telling me I wasn't.
Then nobody was.
Have you seen me? Have you looked at my Facebook page?
Absolutely.
You have. And
I look up everybody.
Well, go look. I share all kinds of.
I guarantee it. I was like, if somebody's going to install cable at his house, I'm going to check you out. Everybody. I check out everybody.
Hey, we're not going to make it a comedical thing. What I'm going to do is say the reason people are in an uproar, and it's not just black people, it's people across the country, which is what I was getting to with your MLK comment when I was answering that one in the first place.
Absolutely.
It sparked outrage across the world. It's sad that even our country.
But it's based on something we don't even know.
Brad, let him talk. Brad.
Police brutality happened. A police officer took it upon himself to become judge, jury, and executioner and kneeled on a man's neck for 8.5 minutes. That happened. Whether he was
absolutely.
Whether it's black or white or whatever, who brought it forefront and who's protesting it is the movement. Black.
And so what should we do about it?
the movement that is against this police brutality, and there's nothing wrong.
No, but let's assume, since we don't know that he did it based on racism, let's assume that it's just a bad cop. What do you do about it?
We still need to do something about police reform. That's what I was mentioning earlier.
He was arrested. He broke the law. If we're saying that
that's not enough.
That's not enough for you.
No, because he was arrested and we still haven't went through trial. And we know through the history of the U.S. in this last decade, they will get arrested and they will get released and they will get a job.
Why would they get released if he broke the law?
I'm sorry?
Why would he get released if he broke the law?
Because it happens. George Zimmerman was released, my friend. You don't think he broke the law?
Actually, he didn't. And that's the thing, is that if the law allows you to...
The law can be manipulated, and right and wrong is another thing. So we could sit here and talk about the law, but let's just talk about right and wrong, because there's a lot of laws that need to be redone.
Exactly. And you know who's been in office for like 40 years and hasn't done anything about it? Somebody like Joe Biden. Who do you support in the presidential election?
Make it political. I just said to my dad earlier, I said,
no, it's got to be political. They make the laws.
No, it's kind of, but that's
it has to be.
We should be talking at a more local level when you're talking about police reform in your community. But let me say this. I really just told my dad earlier, I said, dang, Dad, I never noticed when I was younger watching the news how this spinoff always goes back to Democrat versus Republican. They'll bring up Joe Biden, they'll bring up Obama. Let's try to fix the problem together. I'm not telling you who to vote for.
I agree.
I don't have any party association, my friend. I just barely started voting after the second Obama administration. I didn't vote for even the first term, I'll be honest. But the problem at hand, we cannot argue. What he did was horrible. What George Zimmerman was horrible. It was wrong. You don't go looking for someone, which you mentioned earlier about the vigilante stuff. You don't someone and not know anything and then be told by the police to stop your pursuit. We say we want to respect the blue so bad, but we fail to mention these people did not even listen to the dispatcher when they said stop. So they still continued on, and he got his ass whooped by a young boy and then he shot him. But if you come to me right now or anyone else steps in my space and starts questioning me about something you have no authority to, I'm gonna whoop your ass. And I hope you do the same.
But according to Florida law, he did have authority to, and those are the things that we have to change. If you think the law is wrong, it's political.
Let me say something. I want to say something real quick.
And I'm not mad. I'm passionate.
I agree. I agree with you,
dude. You know what?
I agree, and we still hate CDS.
I want to say this. I want to say this. Look, Devin and I are friends. We've been friends for a little while now, and I respect him. I have a lot of respect for him. So I want to know. Whoo, there we go. I want to know, like, you've got all this stuff going on. We agree totally. Like I said, George Floyd shouldn't have been killed. The cop needs to go to prison. All four of them need to go to prison, I think. There's been a lot of stuff go down. Lots of things happening. But where we are now is not in a good place. And I want to know how. I really want to know. There you go. There. Now,
I got bourbon. You got Fireball. We're all set.
See, Brad, you've already drove him to drink in just a few minutes. I want to know where we go from here, Devin. Like, you have to admit that a lot of this stuff going on now is nonsense. The burning the buildings. You know, a lot of these young black men that are out there destroying this stuff, and white men, because I've seen them both. They're both there. They're both tearing it up.
Let's just say young men.
I've seen. I should have.
You're
correct. See, that's the thing. That's what we need to work on.
Retrain our mindset.
We need to retrain our mind. But what, dude? How do you fix what's happening right now? How do we get a handle on this? I mean, because the next thing that's going to happen is the military is going to come in probably, and they're going to kill people probably.
I don't know how you even bring in the military. That doesn't even.
It doesn't make sense. But they will. But they're going to, because this is going to get to a point, man. That's not slowing down. It's getting worse.
I'm just gonna compare this to what I know. Okay, I started off with a teacher's background. I have 3 children. I have a 5-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old. The 17-year-old and the 12-year-old I acquired through life.
You have a 7. Oh, okay. I was like, Gary, you're only like 18 yourself, man. What's going on?
The only one is biological, but I got these kids, and I have to handle things. When I don't know their background, the boys that I took in. Y'all just pay attention to me, see if this makes sense.
We're gonna listen.
I don't know what they've been through. I know some of their hardships. I know their mother passed away. I know they were evicted from their home. I know a few things about them, right? At times, they act up. There's a tantrum. Even my 17-year-old, mad, angry, wants to punch a hole in the wall, threw his phone, outside, punched a tree, knocked some birds out of my tree. Pissed off. I immediately, because I love them, can't talk about the action. I can't, that's not what I got on first. I had to figure out what was wrong with my 17-year-old. What's causing you to act out this way? I know you're just not crazy. I know you're just not a bad person. What's causing you to do these things? We have to address those. And simply what I'm saying is, and sometimes the action is horrible. The kid threw a tantrum. The people threw a tantrum. They burned some buildings. They fucked some shit up. Let's figure out what this problem is and what caused them, because they don't go out every day and fuck shit up. My 17-year-old don't wake up every morning and do the I hate the world thing. He don't do that, but he does it sometimes. And when that happens, I had to figure out what exactly is the root and the cause of it. And there's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of experiences that he's been through that I didn't know he went through. I haven't walked through with him. I didn't know. I didn't walk that world. I didn't walk in his shoes. So condemn that action. We know it's wrong. We know looting is wrong. We know catching buildings on fire is wrong. We know it's all wrong, but you are a human being. And if I truly love you, let me try to get down to the middle in the bottom of the problem. If I can't see a problem, that you feel a certain way, and I can't tell you any person how to feel. If I can't see a problem that you actually feel a particular way, then we have to figure out why we can't connect, because we look different or whatever the reason is. We need to figure out why. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all on the whole police brutality thing. Curtis, you know me, pretty good guy. From as far as you know me, a lot of people who know me will say he's a stand-up guy. He has a nonprofit organization called Defeat the Odds. He goes to the broken down apartments and he gives kids body wash and he helps out his community as best he can. But when the police get behind me, y'all, I get scared. And I can't tell you, you can laugh at it and you can say it stems from nothing, but I promise you, I get scared, my heart drops, I don't know what's gonna happen to me in the next moment. It can end up perfect. Most of the time, every time it does. I've only experienced maybe 2 assholes. But as your brother, as someone you said has become your friend over the last couple of months, if I say that to you, do you rebuttal with, bro, you're crazy. You gotta be out of your mind. Or do you say do to help?
I don't think you're out of your mind at all,
Not
Devin,
at all,
but
no.
but here's what I want to think. You know, like when you watch television, I think a lot of this, I think the media has caused a lot of this, don't you? Like, I mean, when it's constantly being blasted all the time.
I grew up on a street called Dunn Street in Hobbs, New Mexico. Come from a line of career criminals. So I live a life on this skin that the media don't ever have to tell me about, that I relate to, that I don't ever have to watch. I'm not really a news watcher. I've just now kind of got into it. I promise you, like I told you,
you should stop.
Yeah, just quit now.
It's best not to watch the news.
No, I just barely started watching the news in the last 5 years. I promise. I'm 31. So up until 25, my experience was based on my experience, not by what was given to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was based on the experience of me, my brothers, and my uncles, and my father, and my grandfather, who we've experienced these things. And we do have I think different talks than you guys. I think my 5-year-old baby black son, I gotta talk to him about police, and when they pull us over, sit back, don't move, don't make no sudden movement. Please don't be a kid when the police pull us over, son. Just sit back, shut the fuck up, and let daddy get through this, you know? Do you have those same did you have to have those exact same conversations with your kid? Because you're scared if he moves too much, you might get shot?
I got to tell you, Devin, I was dragged out of my car in Roswell, New Mexico one time because I had a license plate light out, and the officer pulled me over and he said, you know, he was just an ass to me, and I said, why are you pulling me over? And he said, it doesn't matter why I'm pulling you over, and I went to get out of the car and they drugged me out, and about 5 cops showed up and they held me at gunpoint right there, and that's an absolute true story.
I believe you. I don't think it doesn't happen to anyone else. It's a bad thing that it happens. Did it scar you?
And then,
did it scar me?
Devin,
no.
And then there's me, where I've gotten pulled over, and the cop is like, "Well, I saw you passed the van, and it was a double yellow line. You were speeding." I'm like, "Wasn't me." He's like, "Well, I saw you. I don't know who you're talking about, but it was not me."
I think,
and he went, "Oh, okay. My apologies." The Jedi mind trick worked on that one. He was a state cop in New Mexico. It worked. The Jedi mind trick worked on him.
I think that I absolutely can see your point, but I'll tell you another time. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I'm driving along with one of my best friends, and we're driving. We were actually going to a club, right? And we made a wrong turn, and we drove through a black neighborhood in my car. Me and him, 2 white guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a party going on, like a street party thing, and the traffic was going through. When we drove through, like, they grabbed our car and they shook it and they were banging on the windows and they literally chased us out of there in another car. And that's a true story. So I get it. I understand.
When you say black neighborhood, I hood, you're saying like the hood.
It was the hood. It was the hood. It was the hood.
When you say black neighborhoods, you remember we have black neighborhoods that are very much so affluential as well.
Dude, there's a black gentleman that lives right down the street in my neighborhood. It is what it is.
I'm talking about even like in Austin, Pflugerville, Dallas. You go down in Duncanville, or even where my aunt lives in Cedar Hill. You're not going to get your car drug up and beat up because you came down a black neighborhood with a party going on. You're going to get welcomed. So that's more of a demographic, more of a people thing.
Okay, and that's my point, though. That's my whole point to my story, right? So I was in the hood, right? I went through the hood.
The hood, not just a black neighborhood.
Okay, right, the hood.
The ghetto.
I go through the hood. Now, me and my buddy, we're about 23 years old probably when that happened, maybe 24. So when we leave there, you're absolutely right. We had that mental image from then on, about, man, we don't want to get into anything like that again, So I understand, your anxiety when an officer may be behind you, but you said yourself, out of all the times you've been pulled over and all of your interactions with the police, you've had a couple of assholes, you said, but for the most part, nothing's happened to you because you didn't act like an idiot when they pulled you over, right?
The guy, that's right. And I don't know, but sometimes I'm an asshole too. I'm not going to say I haven't used my privilege. I grew up in Eunice, New Mexico. I was on, so I didn't even know I was black for a long time.
Exactly.
But then the world slapped me across my ass and told me real quick, you're black. But anyway, just on my way home, y'all, this is a true story. The cop wasn't an asshole. This state police officer was nice, a young man. He pulled me over, said I was speeding. I was going 77. I always set my cruise control to about 77, 78. Nobody gets pulled over at that. There's a guy in front of me going 80, 85. He's been my riding buddy. I stayed behind him, right? State police officer, I seen him turn around. I tell everybody in the car, well, he said, get this motherfucker in front of me. Watch. He's speeding. State police officer pulls up behind me. I have Florida license plates because I hit a deer. Long story, I hit a deer. I'm in a rental car. He sees the Florida license plates. He comes up beside me, y'all, looks at me, sees me, backs that ass right on back up, and flashes them lights.
Now, do you think
But tell me why he pulled me over.
Well, because, dude, we all know people from Florida are absolutely nuts, man. So he thought dude, Google it. Floridians are out of their mind. Yeah, they're crazy. It wasn't because you're black. Come on.
But brother, I'm gonna tell you, in my line of experience, and if like you say, you're my friend, you know me, I'm not no crybaby, this black card playing, don't use that. Listen to me and let me tell you, I knew at first I was very confident that we were gonna get this guy in front of me. But then as soon as we made eye contact, I knew I was about to get pulled over.
But keep in mind, here's something I've told Curtis before. I have actually looked up on the internet pet peeves of cops. And so what I do, if I'm speeding along and I see a cop and I know that they just clocked me, you know what I do? I pull over. They don't even have to turn their lights on behind me. I am already pulled over. And then when they pull up, they're like, that son of a gun, he already pulled over for me. And you know what happens?
What?
Warning.
Yeah, but you're white, Brad. That's the problem.
But you can say it's because I'm white, or you can say it's because
you got a warning. You got a warning. Cool.
And that's the thing is I'm like, as long as you I follow everything to a T that I looked up so that there is no chance that I'm going against one of their pet peeves. There's just no point in it for me.
We shouldn't live in a country where a police officer has that power over any individual.
But they have to, Devon. You gotta look. If you're a police officer, right? If you're a police officer, let's just put ourselves in their shoes for a second.
That you chose to be. That you were.
You chose to be. You chose to be.
Elected.
Okay.
Not elected.
You're not forced to be. It's a
no, absolutely.
But all right.
Keep that in mind.
Let me talk. So you're a police officer.
You can't talk.
So a lot of people, of course you've got some bad ones that go into it for the wrong reason. I'm not even going to argue that. But for the most part, we're going to, 99% probably. Come on.
Let me give you some ice.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So 99, can you still hear me at least?
Yes, but wait, don't say nothing else.
Okay, well, just listen. Because I don't want to see your facial expressions when I start talking about all this. Yeah.
99%.
99%. How many cops, dude, in New York? How many cops are in New York? Do you even know?
I don't live in New York.
It's like 38,000 police officers, right? Right? Something like that, 38,000. Biggest police force in the United States. But let's just say most of the cops, you got your bad ones that join for the wrong reason, but most of your cops join because they want to do a community service, right? They enjoy their community. They want to help it out.
What out of 30,000? What's that? What's 1%? 300.
Out of 40,000, you got 400 if you had the 1%.
Okay.
300 bad cops.
400 bad cops. That's a lot of bad cops.
I would say I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing that it is. But now let me finish my thought. Wait, let me finish my thought. I don't think there's more than that. I really don't. But here's the deal, man. When you're out on a lone highway, especially in our area, you're out on a lone highway, you pull somebody over, black or white or yellow or whatever, you pull somebody over, you don't know what you're getting into as a police officer. You don't know what you're fixing to walk up on, right? I mean, you could walk up on a perfectly nice guy like yourself, or you could walk up against Brad that's going to feed a lot of nonsense, or you could walk up against the guy that just murdered 5 people in this
Yeah, you have to assume the worst to protect yourself.
So I understand that these cops, even when they come to me, I understand when they come up with a little attitude because they've got to. They have to. And you would too.
I wouldn't call it attitude, but they have to come from a point of caution.
And you've got it. And so
I like that word.
You have to come with a point of caution, and you have to come with a point ready for whatever may come, right? You don't know. There may be a guy laying in the back seat with a shotgun. You don't know.
Right.
And so you've got your adrenaline up. I can see where a lot of that comes off as being arrogant or whatever, but I can tell you what, I don't want to do it. If you're driving somewhere and out here, Devon, it's rural, and if you're just driving, it's you and somebody else. If you think for a second, man, if I had to pull that car over right now here by myself, am I going to feel comfortable doing that?
Well, I'll say like this, and I'll be honest. When you said this area, that's the way it caught me. You got a little face expression from me because in my eyes, we're part of the safest part of the country when it comes to stuff like that. As far as just, I don't think bad. I don't think so. There's going to be a murderer just on the highway. If I pull you over because you were going 77, I usually don't think, my friend, that you're doing something horrible or so criminal that I need to be really protective of myself. But I do understand. But what percentage are police officers attacked in duty and when they make a stop out of 30,000 stops.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something that's really impressive right now, because this is one of the reasons that Brad is a superstar, because you just asked what the percentage is. I can probably ask Brad, and he can probably tell us what the percentage is.
No, as far as people being pulled over, I don't have those stats. I had the ones about the number of unarmed people killed in 2019, which was 1,000 out of the 5 million people that were arrested.
You have to understand. You have to understand really as a whole. When you look at the country as a whole, right? How many engagements do they have, Brad? Like
370 million in 2019.
370 million engagements with people the police have. Now we're talking about how many killings, Brad, has gone on with this? Black and white both, all races. How many killings?
Unarmed was 1,000.
1,000 killings out of 370 million interactions, Devon. That's not that bad.
So that's my point, Brad. You shouldn't have to be what's going on? Who is that?
Oh, no. I'm not worried. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't do anything that helps me get the ticket. Because I know I just broke the law. I'm now kissing his ass to try to get him to not give me the ticket.
I'm from this area, so I rest assured I use it. Hey, officer, I don't get to.
So okay, we're gonna wrap this. Hey, we're gonna wrap this up. But before we go, I want to ask you a serious question, and we're gonna shut up and we're gonna let you answer. Right now, looking at the new country of Chaz that's sitting out in Seattle, looking at I hear they're applying for the UN soon. It's in the mail. They'll maybe they'll get that. I know they're out of food and stuff, but anyway, the new country of Chaz. You've got all of the stuff going around the whole United States. A lot of it is violent. Some of it's not, but a lot of it is.
I think that's
so. So what do we do, in your opinion, to rein this in and all of us get along again at this point, before it turns into something of a bloodbath between, whatever it's going to happen, because people are getting tired of it. So in your opinion, what are we going to do to calm this down and put an end to it? And we'll shut up and let you talk.
Oh, and real quick, I'm sorry. Leo corrected me. He said it was a total of 1,000 killings, not unarmed. Unarmed was like 64 unarmed.
All right, but that beside the point. What do we do now to put this to bed and become cohesive again as a nation, Devon? In your opinion?
Yeesh, that is a long story. There's a lot of questions. I don't have so many of the answers. But number one, again, we gotta stop looking at that action and try to figure out what the root cause of it is. Instead of telling your brother that it's what he feels isn't real, just try to put yourself in their shoes. And then another thing too, what we have to do, number one, is police reform. I support the blue. I have family members that are police officers. Detective Shad White here in Hobbs, Sergeant now, excuse me. We grew up together. I looked up to him. He tried to get my brother on the police force. So I have nothing against the police, but definitely you should not use excessive force. The fact that you have a dangerous job should not allow you to treat people however you want to be treated. Yes, you can be cautious, but you don't have to have an attitude. And definitely if color makes a difference to you, you should not be on the force. I think some simple things, because I haven't been able to just really put it all together, but what I've thought about as far as solutions is, one thing for certain is you should not be able to police a community that you don't live in. If you don't live in a particular vicinity of the community, you shouldn't be in there policing them. You should know the people that you're policing so that you're there really to protect and serve and not really just to police them. We have a mentality about hood Black people from experience, some of us, Curtis, like you said.
Yeah.
We'll say they're all violent and they're going to be like that. But you want to know something I know? They are some of the most loving and caring people. The people that Dylan Ruth killed out there in Charlotte.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, they were the nicest people on earth.
And that's where those are the grandmas we come from. Those are where we come from. And so Black people, we know they're not all criminal. We know they're not all good. We know that all criminals are not Black. So we just got to remember that, and then also just make these kind of things happen. When these kind of things happen, we stand up together. We don't condemn George Floyd and say, oh, this is some bullshit because they're doing too much for this criminal. We say, this police officer was wrong. Let's get that over with. And any other police officer that does it, this should be an example. And then we should be able to move on. But when people go on and say that's too much, or people are defending him, because a lot of the country, not all, but a lot of the country, and I ain't gonna say that, some of the country, they're defending
1%.
Right. The 1%, all the billionaires in the world, the rich people.
I don't think that's
So with your own words right here, like basically, you said, let's not condemn George Floyd for what he'd done and all this and that, and which we didn't, but let's just say, when did it stop being about George Floyd and start being about just going out and causing havoc and anarchy?
But I think that's that redirection, because honestly, when you say the majority of it is violent, I disagree. Again, we hate media. We hate, what they show us on the news. We always go against what they tell us and what they're showing us. We're saying they're trying to control us. They're trying to show us things and make us.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. In Hobbs, you're in Hobbs, New Mexico. If Hobbs, New Mexico lit on fire tonight and your entire downtown was burned and all of your stores were looted, how would you feel then? Do you think that's still about George Floyd?
No, I'm saying we didn't do that, and I'm telling you.
I know you didn't, but if it happened in your city,
the country didn't. The majority of the protests didn't. So that's what I'm saying. It's not all violence and burning. It's mostly good stuff.
So to wrap things up, though, what would you like to see changed or done? What's the legislation? What can we do?
Definitely, police reform needs to happen. They definitely have, number one, very much so training. They need to be vetted more. If they do have any association with any kind of white supremacists, black supremacists.
No, but you got to, but see, this goes back to seeing how policing is done. You would be amazed at what they do to vet police officers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a friend that just went through where his son is in, he's now a sheriff, gets actually sworn in on Monday. And he has gone through multiple psychological evaluations. They've tested him in the field. They've tested him multiple ways. He's got a bachelor's degree. He's got they've done all these things. It's amazing.
Yet people who have violent backgrounds, police officers who have violent backgrounds and who have a history of this excessive force can leave the department and go get a job at another department. I can't go work at a grocery store and rob a grocery store and then I get a job.
And I got to.
I'm leading to something.
Brad.
I'm leading to something.
Okay.
What you're saying leads to that is that if we make it more difficult and less safe and less pay to be a police officer, who will you get? You're not going to get a master's degree person that fits all of these categories.
I never said less pay. I don't think defunding is the answer. I don't. I said.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Vetted and definitely trained and reprimanded when they do these bad things. Instead of the force looking it over and glancing it over because they need an employee, that employee needs to be punished. That employee does not need to be. You're not fit to be a police officer.
So at the same time, if the police aren't going to have any preconceived notions about the public, can we start teaching the public to not have preconceived notions about the police?
We can. That would start.
We got to do both. We have to do both.
One would do the other, brother. One would do the other. We would.
I get it, but where do you start?
The fire department.
The police can't just risk their lives and hope that it changes.
I heard you. But you know what? I got to say that I agree with this because I know for a fact that there's been officers, and I've seen it with my own eyes, that get in trouble and then they're transferred off to another town somewhere, or I have seen that happen. And I go back.
Trolling me right now from Hobbs. He trolls all of our anything that we try to do as far as protests. He trolls and he talks about how he wished he could hurt niggers more. But he was right here in the Hobbs police force, breaking wrists and slamming people on their heads. The sheriff had to tell me who he was.
Well,
that's not good.
That's not good. No. And I think a lot of this, I think this starts, and I said this last week, I think this starts with the police unions. And I think as these officers start getting, complaints against them, and let's be honest now, People will complain against cops for anything. If they don't like whatever,
especially criminals,
they're going to file a complaint. If they do. Oh, come on. Jesus Christ. I've heard it all. I'm getting rid. You're off now. I'm getting rid of you, not black people.
I ain't got time to go up there and file no goddamn complaint. I just kick them off and keep
you're
going.
gone. You're out of here.
Devin, hey, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you guys too. It was a great conversation. Have me on more often, man. I will pour my whiskey and I will talk my shit with y'all.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you later. All right, Brad. So, we've got, that was a great conversation. And,
it actually was helpful because he answered questions, because I can hardly ever get somebody to answer a question. And he answered, and he did a great job answering questions.
I really, over the past few months, I've got to know Devon, fairly well. And we disagree politically. We totally do. And I know that because I read his Facebook page, but it's nice. This is what we need to do. Have a conversation and try and start working some stuff out. But anyway,
legitimate conversation where people can ask each other questions and answer them. Thank you, Devon.
So we were going to show you guys some of the podcast. We were going to do the joke of the week, and we ain't bull pooping you and Wilder Kingdom and all that, but we've been going for an hour, so we're going to get out of here. Folks, you know what? We appreciate it so much, and thank you for tuning in. Be sure and go to our YouTube channel and check that out. And you know what? We're out of here. Thank you guys so much.
Aloha.